Here is the lineup for this women's pairs race. Yeah, Cleverling and Meester in the centre of the course. They raced that Australian pair who I thought was so fast at Lucerne last year. They looked like they could dominate. But the Dutch who we're seeing now, that's the Dutch second team that we're going to have a little introduction to.
Yes, as you say, Greg, Netherlands 2, Ilse Kolkman and Willemien Mulder. From Australia, Jessica Morrison and Annabelle McIntyre. Olympic champions from Tokyo in the women's 4, now moving into the pair for this Olympiad. In lane 3 from Ireland, Afric Keogh and Fiona Murta. And in lane 4, the world champions. A breakthrough performance for them last year in Belgrade. Netherlands 1, Jimke Cleverling and Veronique Meester. In lane 5 from Greece, Evangelia Anastasiadou and Christina Iona Borompo. And from the USA in lane 6, Aya Shakowski and Jessica Tones.
Yeah, and I remember watching this one in Lucerne last year, and this Australian pair was so dominant that day. As you say, they're gold medalists from the 4, but they got into the pair, and we thought, yeah, perhaps they're going to dominate this pairs race the way they won. But at the World Championships, it was the Netherlands who controlled everything. In their semi-final, the Netherlands have already beaten Australia once. And it's this Irish pair who won the other semi-final. So, of course, those two side by side in the centre of the course. So I'm expecting to see the Australians pushing hard for the gold with the Irish and the Netherlands. Of course, not to ride out any of these other crews, as all 6 crews get away pretty much very smooth and very much in a line.
Yeah, look, this is a big race here. The Dutch, as you've said, Greg, they were the world champions last year. The Australians last year were unbeaten throughout the season. They won every single race except for the final of the World Championships, which included going under world best time at the Hollenbecker Regatta. So it was a surprise to see the Dutch, but they are undoubtedly the crew to beat. Currently blasting out at the start and taking this race on early. But as you say, we don't write anyone else off at this stage. We know that this Greek crew, the Irish, extremely strong as well. This could be anyone's race.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely could be anyone's race. Just taking a look, there was Anastasiadou in the bow pair of that Greek boat. She was a lightweight gold medalist back in 2022 in the single scull. But now up to heavyweight, of course, we see her really getting on it, as we see with all these Greek crews. You know they're working hard, I think, when you look at a crew like that. The race slightly getting away from the American pair down in front of us here. Good performance from the Dutch development pair on the far side. We're trying to match that Australian pair, but you can see it's Meester and Clevering who have a small lead. The Australians going with them, the Irish still right in there as well.
We can see here the Greeks, coached by the legendary Giovanni Postiglione. Really aggressive through the front end, how they pick up that boat, and then you've got this great comparison to the Dutch, don't you, Greg?
That's what I was thinking, yeah, what a comparison it was, the Dutch smoothness, which has taken them out to that half boat length lead on the Australians who are tracking them. Yeah, Borompo in the stroke seat we saw of that Greek boat. Again, she was in the pair at the Tokyo Olympics that came 5th, really aggressively going for it. And just look at the smoothness of this Dutch pair. Just think it's kind of wonderful when you look at Veronique Meester in that stroke seat, how kind of smooth and quiet she is around the finish.
Sitting here in the bronze medal position at this very early stage. I probably shouldn't even call it that because we're not really at the medal hunt yet. There's still a long way to go. But in this second quarter now are the Irish being tracked by the Greeks, opening up a little bit of a lead. Now these 4 boats on the Dutch, the second Dutch crew and the USA currently at the back of the field, but still a lot can happen in the pairs. We know that they have a quick turn of speed, but look at the Dutch here. This is what they did to the Australians at the World Championships last year. They blasted out in the first 500. sat out and controlled the race in the front of the field.
Well, we're going to see the Dutch women's 4 as well later on today, and there's a kind of relaxation about these women that they get the blades in, they get their work on, and it's relatively quiet around the finish, around the end of the stroke. They get those blades out of the water and get onto the next stroke. But looking at them now, it looks quite high in the rate, 38 strokes a minute from the Netherlands, just ticking it along. Australia down at 36 strokes a minute, tracking them. I think there's still plenty in this. I think the Australians could yet move as we come to the second 1,000. The Dutch, is that efficient? Is that going to be efficient enough, or will the Australians be able to come back? And really, you can see it's pretty tight there in the bronze medal positions now.
Yeah, as we come through the 1,000-metre mark, it is the Dutch, Cleverling and Meester, narrowly behind, and I think closing that gap now is the Australian crew. Morrison and McIntyre. Third through are now Greece, who have just moved ahead of Ireland, who came through in 4th place. As you say, McIntyre and Morrison, a little bit lower stroke rate, probably with a longer, fuller stroke. We saw a little nod there from Annabelle. Clearly Jess said something to her, so let's see, do the Aussies have something here? Are they going to start to make a move? They know that the Dutch will go out hard and fast in the first 1,000 metres, so they would know that the third 500 is where they're going to be vulnerable.
Well, let's see if those Australians can take advantage of any vulnerability from the Netherlands in the third quarter. The Irish, we saw earlier, were in third place, Keogh and Murtagh. They're bronze medalists at the Tokyo Olympics back in the Coxless 4. That was a real breakthrough performance for Irish women's rowing. They look like they've pushed on in this third quarter because that Greek pair had come back at them, but the Irish have responded. See, at 41 strokes a minute. Here they are. See Fiona Murtagh in the stroke seat, Afric, Keogh in the bow seat. They're trying to make that move away from that Greek pair. You can see it. The gap is opening up for the Irish. We couldn't rule out the Dutch development pair as well on the far side. As you see the boat also bow number 6 right in front of us, the American pair. How about this Australian pair? Was that call a good call? Is it working, Sarah?
Yeah, Morrison and McIntyre, they're still down on 36 strokes a minute. You can see Jess Morrison in the bow seat speaking to Annabelle McIntyre. They would know that now is the time to go. I think at 36 they've got somewhere to go. We've seen the Dutch have been up at 39 strokes per minute. The way they row is quite straight up and down the boat, the Dutch, and they're quite upright, so I think that's a sustainable rate for them to be at, but they don't necessarily have that much of a gear change. The question is, do the Australians, have they been biding their time? We will see what unfolds here in the last 500 metres, but now is their chance to send a message if they're going to be able to do it.
Well, here we go, as you say, this Dutch crew, they don't row particularly long, not in the finish of the stroke. They stay fairly upright. They get onto the next stroke. They keep that rate up. They keep ticking along. So we see this lovely overhead shot that shows the distance that this Netherlands crew have. The Irish are closing in, trying to be clear in the bronze medal position. So you can see just how smoothly they're moving down the centre of the lane. It's as efficient as you can get from this Netherlands crew, the world champions from 2023. Looking pretty good here. I think the Australians need to do something special now, using rate in the red buoys. Yeah,
the Australians step up to 38. The Dutch go 1 point to 40. If the Australians are going to do it, they have to do it now. I was sitting with Annabelle's mum in the stands earlier this week. She's a Australian representative at the Commonwealth Games for cycling, so she's certainly got pedigree in the family from a sporting sense, but does she have it now? She's stroking the pair. We see the Irish on screen. They're sitting in bronze medal. Are they going to get themselves back into contention here?
Well, now we see the Dutch from above. They have used the rate. They've come up to 41 strokes a minute. Their supporters are delighted with what they're seeing, because I think they've opened the gap. As we're coming down now towards the finish line, it is this Dutch crew, the world champions, Cleverling and Meester, who are going to take this. Coming down in front of us, it is gold for the Netherlands. It is Australia, and it's a small bit of clear water to Morrison and McIntyre taking the silver. And they're in the bronze medal. Keogh and Murtagh responded well to the push that came from behind them. Very close, as you can see, from the Netherlands, Greece. And the fast-finishing Americans kept it pretty close there. 4th, 5th and 6th. But that was about Cleverling and Meester. They kept it really light and loose, and it worked for them today.
Yeah, they did exactly what we saw them do at the World Championships last year. That got that breakthrough performance. They blasted out early. They kept the rate up. They were just ticking it along. They did a really fantastic job to take that win over the Australians. in silver, and the Irish picking up the bronze medal.
Yeah, real contrast in styles that you picked up there. I think Clevering and Meester, we see them here. They look that bit shorter in the finish. You see them off the start. Of course, they're short because they're just getting the boat up to speed. But the Australian stroke looked much more long and much more connected, maybe on a harder gearing as well. So the boat's kind of going further per stroke. There was a kind of lightness and a dynamism I really liked about, well, it seems to really work for the Dutch crew. That wasn't their best stroke of the race.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing all the Dutch crews racing, and we've got such a full field here that I've got to watch the European Championships, World Cup 1 before that, but now the whole field is here. Sarah Cook is here, the Australians are here. And you can see that result, the Netherlands ahead of Australia.
Let's hear it for our medalists.
Applaus für unsere Medaillengewinnerinnen.
This race is sponsored by Securitas AG.
Diese Sendung wurde gesponsert.